brilliant play. Yeah, one of the smartest, best plays I've ever seen. Like I said, we may be talking about Oklahoma losing this football game, um, if not for him. Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, tackling has, and it's not been as big of an issue over the last few years, but definitely has been a lingering, continuous issue this year for this team. I mean, I'm not sure why that is. I mean, I know some defenses are just better tackling defenses, than not. And you hate to, and not that I'm using this as an excuse. So don't feel like that's the reason that I'm saying this, but you you have a you have a team that's missing so many starters on defense. It's tough, especially in the back end. To play consistently. I think the one thing that just continues to be a really really big disappointment is the defensive line is just they're just not playing great football right now. It's the second week in a row that they've really really struggled to get any kind of pressure on the quarterback. They're not stopping the run. So I think tackling and just the lack of play on the defensive line is the biggest concern from my perspective right now. Let's see. Yeah, and I think the one thing that Oklahoma's struggling with is just where the bye week came from them, because they've played consecutive games, all season. Oklahoma's going to play 9 straight weeks. That's a lot. So the schedule makers didn't do Oklahoma any favor. So they'll have 9 weeks, and then they'll finally get their bye week in 2 weeks from now after Texas Tech. But still, you've got a team here that is hurting, and they need to get healthy in a hurry. Let's see. Bobby says too many arm tackles. I completely agree with that. Just not wrapping people up has been a consistent theme as well. Um, let's see. Definitely agree, Cliff. If any of you guys have watched Baylor, incredibly improved team this year. What you would expect to see out of the Dave Aranda coach team is really, really solid defensive play. Offensively, from Jerry Bohannon, they get quarterback very efficient at the quarterback position. I think he just last week may have thrown his first interception of the year for Baylor. But I think when you look at that team, very well coached, very fundamentally sound, very good tackling team, unlike Oklahoma right now. So I think it'll be. I think that game will be interesting. They've got to get I'm sounding like a broken record, but got to get much better on defense, and they have got to have a lot more intensity, be ready to play, tackling, and just coverage in the back end as well as um, playing tough up front. John Doe, OU is going to look their way to a 15 in the natty somehow. I mean, I don't think anyone here would be unhappy with that if that happened. And I think Oklahoma's got a long, long, long way to go before they're even close to competing with an Alabama or Georgia. No matter what, no matter what if they're playing at 6:30 a.m. on the moon. Alabama or Georgia is not struggling to even to a small extent with Kansas. So that's the difference in those three programs right now, without a doubt. No Williams, no Williams as Heisman. I don't really. Are you saying he shouldn't be a Heisman contender, or you're saying no, Williams is a Heisman contender? Um, I do think that he can get there. Maybe not necessarily to get in the top two, but I think he could be, within the top five by the end of the year, maybe even 3 or 4. He's got a long way to go to catch up with some of those, but he's got the recency bias. He's got ESPN factor with Herbstreit kind of pubbing him. Talked about it on game day today. He's got a couple of those Heisman moments today that specifically, the takeaway, I guess you call it, of Kennedy Brooks in the first down is going to be something that people are going to talk about. So he'll continue to be a guy that's talked about right there. Um, so yeah, I do think that he has a chance to get there. At this point, I feel better. Deep Polo, thanks for the comment. At this point, I feel better. Oklahoma playing against tougher teams. You're right. For whatever reason, Oklahoma seems to play down to the level of competition, and I think Oklahoma's not really performed bad in games in which they were either a close favorite or maybe even an underdog. Um, so yeah, I think. So this is the thing that I say about the coaching. Grinch can't go out there and tackle for him. I guarantee you they practice tackling every single day. They practice tackling of some sort. So it's not like that they don't do this. And Grinch tells them not to tackle or doesn't even emphasize it. I guarantee you, as much of a struggle as they have had defensively, specifically from a tackling perspective, that is something that gets spoken about and talked about over and over and over again, without a doubt. Let's see. Ryan, thanks for telling me your Oklahoma had the mountain fourth quarter comeback against our really worst problem in divisional football. I agree with you right now. The fact I agree with you, but the fact of the matter is, the top 10 is struggling just in general. When you look at Cincinnati, we talked about that just a little bit ago. Cincinnati struggled um, today against Navy. Let me pull up the top 25 here. Um, when you look at things nationally, um, Penn State is in overtime, double overtime with Illinois right now. You look at Cincinnati 127-20 over Navy. I think that's equally as disappointing of a win. Cincinnati desperately needed to be impressive in that win, and just winning that game by 7 points again is very similar to what Oklahoma is going through as well. Um, Michigan came on late. They struggled with in that game for a big part of the game. Won that game 33-7, but then we'll see some of these other teams. Like I said, you've got Ole Miss down 7-0 now. Oregon down 7-0. Iowa State and Oklahoma State still scoreless. Like I said, Penn State and Illinois are tied. So yeah, if you want to say Oklahoma doesn't belong anywhere near the playoffs, I don't doubt you in that thought. But my thought is, who else is going to make it? Who else is going to be there? So Jimmy, no pressure, agreed. Tackling seems to be one of the bigger problem. Kansas is bye week, moved the SEC basically just snuck by Vandy. Yep, about the same. So let me clarify a comment here. I think this is a good point, Ryan. I give coaches blame. I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean he needs to go. Yes, I think Grinch is to blame. Riley is to blame for these kids not being up and not being ready to go, no matter who they have out there. So that's definitely to blame. But is it something that I think he needs to get fired for? No, but I think it's something that they have to change the culture of this team. Like I said, this team has been in an epidemic over the last 4 or 5 years of just not getting up for these games, not being incredibly important to them. It seems so. He definitely doesn't need to go. I don't think there's any cause for any kind of a firing or any change. Obviously, any change unless he decides to go somewhere else. But I think that's one of the things that they need to do. If I was in Riley's situation, it would be a big calling card for me in this next year, is to get that effort, to get that culture change inside the program.